Welcome back to the Why You Overeat podcast with me, Sam Gibson, and today I'm going to be breaking down the second half of the 7 emotional voids, the direct framework from my book, Why You Overeat and How to Stop, and I'll be going into the ones that we missed in the last video. So a quick recap from the last video. The 7 voids are essentially unmet needs, unprocessed emotions, and emotional voids in your life. They can be environmental disconnects, they can be certain challenges in your life, certain stresses in your life. But these emotional voids are the root cause reasons behind why food noise is present. What I want you to understand, if things are missing in your life, trying to solve food noise and eating issues at the surface level, it's going to be very, very hard. Now, what that means is essentially you have to be relying on willpower. Now, at this point, you would have realized you've tried so many times to lose weight, you've tried so many times to stick to a diet, you've tried so many times to eat healthy, and you also know what to do, you know what you should be doing, you even know how to do it, but for some reason you just can't seem to put it together. Now, these emotional voids represent empty spaces in your life. Now, the last episode, I covered them in great detail. At this point, we have covered 4 emotional voids. And if you haven't, go back to the previous video after this, or even before this, go back there, watch those 4. You'll see why those voids are one of the possible 7 reasons why you struggle with your relationship with food. So void number 1, disconnected from your daily life and your daily job. Number 2, disconnected from your personal relationships. Number 3, disconnected from hobbies, meaningful values, fun, sense of play. Void number 4, disconnection due to past traumas. We are moving on to disconnection number 5, which is disconnection from nature and the natural world. Now, the reason this is void number 5, and you've got to think of all the times I've coached people, the thousands of conversations I've had, the thousands of clients I've had, when I'm doing the 7 void framework with them, I'm essentially taking a little bit of a deep dive. I'm doing a little bit of a psychoanalysis on why this person is coming to me, putting their hand up, saying they struggle with food noise. So I'm going through the 7 voids and I'm like, well, which ones do you think you are experiencing? Because that's going to show us one of the root causes for why you are struggling. And a lot of the time I say number 5 coming up, which is disconnection from the natural world. So I want to tell you a little bit of a story to kind of get you to understand why this is a thing and what I really mean by disconnection to nature and the natural world. So I was 5 years old in 1999, okay? And I was at Flamingo Land, which is like this really fun, really cool theme park in Yorkshire, I believe it is. It's got a zoo, it's got roller coasters, it's got kiddie rides, it's got everything. And I loved it. We used to caravan there for our holidays, our summer holidays when I was a kid. You know, there was no going on a plane and, you know, going to Spain or going to Turkey or going to wherever. When I was a kid in the 90s and the early 2000s, that kind of came later. It was very much a caravan holiday, a very much working class thing to do. And back in the 90s, they probably didn't have the same kind of animal welfare rights as they do in 2026. It was, you know, pushing 30 years ago now. And they used to have a polar bear. If you've ever been to the zoo in Flamingo Land in the 90s, the polar bear was iconic, but it was somewhat controversial because a lot of people used to say the same thing. A polar bear shouldn't be there. It's out of its natural environment. It's not humane, unhealthy for the polar bear. It's not good for its physical and mental health. And I went to see it as 5 years old, and I'm standing next to the polar bear enclosure, and it's just a enclosure, maybe about the size of half the size of a football pitch, maybe like the size of a 5-a-side court or a basketball court. And it's got a bit of water it can swim in, and it's got like a thing it can stand on, it's got like a ledge it can jump off into the pool with, and it's got a little sleeping area. But apart from that, it's almost like a prison cell. It's a prison cell for this polar bear, and it shouldn't be there. And I remember vividly having the visceral reaction as a 5-year-old kid, looking at it and just saying something was wrong. It wasn't relaxed, it was pacing up and down. It almost had like this very robotic look on its face. It wouldn't look up even though there was people around it, and it would just pace back and forth, the same spot, almost to like psychotic levels. And it doesn't take a David Attenborough level nature genius to work out that's probably quite stressful. That's the polar bear exhibiting a stress response. My grandma was there, and she was looking after me. And I looked up at my grandma and I says, "Grandma, what's wrong with the polar bear?" And she went, "Oh, he's depressed." And I went, What does depressed mean? I remember being a 5-year-old kid. I never heard of that word before. I was like, what's depressed, Grandma? And she went, "Oh, he's just really sad." And I remember thinking at the time, "Oh, that makes sense. He's really sad." I went, "Why is he sad?" And my grandma went, "Well, he lives in the the North Pole or whatever she said shouldn't be here. It's actually cruel. We shouldn't have an animal that big like this and in a small enclosure on his own with no one, out of his environment. It's really sad. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, humans are animals, and when we are taking out of our natural environment, we're going to suffer consequences, physical and emotional. Now, it's not as extreme as the polar bear getting plucked out of the North Pole and then being plonked in a zoo in the middle of Yorkshire. I don't mean out of our environment like that, but all of us can admit we're on our screens far too much. People are on social media far too much. A lot of our friendships are online now. We're more disconnected than ever. We're not seeing people as much. We're not speaking to people as much. We don't have a sense of community like we used to. That represents modern day spiritual and psychological disconnection for the human race. So one of the things I'm looking at with my clients is, well, first of all, how are they eating? Are they eating processed or very unprocessed food? That's going to have certain spiritual and psychological consequences. What's their sleep pattern like? Are they sleeping like a human should? Going to bed when it gets dark, waking up when it gets light, having about 8 to 10 hours of rest and recovery? Or are they staying in bed all day? Are they scrolling all night? Or have they not got a sleep routine? So is sleep being impacted? Does this person go outside enough? You won't believe how many people come to me and I say, how often do you go outside? Oh, some days I don't even leave the house at all, Sam. And I'm like, well, is it any wonder why you feel depressed? Humans are not supposed to stay cooped up indoors. We're supposed to be breathing in the fresh air, getting vitamin D from the sunlight, connecting with people, having something to do, moving around. Another one, how many people come to me, Sam, I'm really struggling with food and my mental health. And I say, are you doing any form of movement? I don't say exercise, I just say movement. I don't think you have to exercise in the traditional sense. I think you just have to move your body. And my advice for clients is move your body in fun and exciting ways that you are more likely to adhere to. A lot of people reach out to me who are struggling with food noise, struggling with emotional eating, struggling with their mental health, and I'll say, do you do any form of movement? And they might have a valid reason as to why they can't do certain things. I've got a knee injury, I've got a hip replacement, I'm going through a health issue right now. Like, okay, what about 10 minutes of walking a day? Well, you know, it's cold outside or it's winter and I don't have a coat. And I'm being a little bit humorous, a little bit ironic now, but I mean it. So many people don't move at all. Some people don't even leave the house. Some people have a sedentary lifestyle. They're staying in the house, they're on screens all day, they're getting artificial light, they're staying up all night on their phone, they're not going outside, they're disconnected from nature, they're not seeing people, they're not breathing in fresh air, they're not moving their body, they're eating ultra-processed food. That is the human modern-day equivalent of the polar bear being taken away from the North Pole and plonked in the middle of a zoo in Yorkshire and exhibiting physical and emotional consequences. Humans living the modern way we are right now, if we're not careful, is exactly the same thing. It's a spiritual disconnect. It's a violation against Mother Nature. So void number 5 is, are you living like a human is supposed to live? So I'm going to talk about a chapter or a passage from my book that relates to void number 5 and how it relates to emotional eating. In 2021, I had a client named Olivia. She was a team leader at a successful tech company where she effectively managed her team and excelled in her role because she was able to work from home. Her presence in the office was not required to lead her team. Olivia often ended up going days without leaving the house. Her routine consisted of logging onto her work devices at 9 a.m, ordering a takeaway for her lunch. She was too engrossed in her work to consider a healthier option. Her eating habits shifted to prioritize efficiency and convenience, not what was actually good for her. Once Olivia clocked off at 6 p.m, she ordered another takeaway and binged on TV shows until she fell asleep on the sofa, waking up the next day to do it all again. I remember feeling extremely sad for Olivia when she revealed to me that she would sometimes not take showers for 4 to 5 days at a time. She didn't see the point because she wasn't going out and it felt like a chore. We had to do something about that, not just because of how overweight Olivia had become, which was impacting her physical health, but because she was showing signs of depression, disconnection, and low self-esteem. I asked Olivia, what are your interests? What lights you up and makes you feel alive? She told me she loved animals, nature, and photography. So we set up some goals around getting outdoors, forcing herself to leave the house even though she was no longer accustomed to it, as she had found it easier to avoid people in the outside world, due to feeling low self-esteem and lack of confidence in her body. After a couple of weeks, work remained stressful and her eating habits were far from ideal, but she was making improvements. She realized just how grounded, safe, and calm she felt after walking around the local park or driving to a nature reserve to watch the birds through her binoculars. I even asked her to send me some cool pictures of animals she found on her days out. I noticed a significant improvement in Olivia's emotional and physical health on the days she went outside, even if it was a quick 30-minute walk during her lunch break. The days when she ate well were the days when she got outside in nature. The days where her eating wasn't very good were the days where she sat in the house all day without moving or breathing in the fresh air. Coincidence? Nope. I'm not suggesting you must climb a mountain every single day and sit and meditate on. But what I am saying is this: if you're living a sedentary life, rarely leaving the house, getting more light from screens than you do from daylight, eating processed food instead of natural, nourishing food, and feeling isolated from any sense of tribe or connection, lonely and disconnected, it will play havoc with your mental health. Do not underestimate the power of Mother Nature. We've forgotten that we're animals, and when we disrespect Mother Nature, she comes back to us with a vengeance in the form of emotional stress, addictions, and poor mental health. That was just a quick passage from void number 5 of my book, Why You're Overeating, How to Stop for Good, which you can get in the comment below. Please check it out if you want to get the full version of the copy. But I talk about that passage from my book because my client Olivia, when she first come to me, she was exhibiting all those symptoms. She wasn't sleeping in her own bed. She was falling asleep on the sofa, disconnected from her sleep cycle. She wasn't eating proper food. She wasn't getting a food shop in. She was ordering Uber Eats multiple times a day so she didn't have to cook and she didn't have dishes. She wasn't leaving the house. She had a computer job that she worked in from home. She was working virtually. She had no reason to leave the house. She was single. She was living alone. So she got in a really negative routine of not leaving the house, not eating proper food, not getting a food shop in, and it led to feelings of depression and social isolation and anxiety. And when I pointed this out to Olivia, and I said, listen, Olivia, the reason why your food noise is so high right now, the reason why you struggle to regulate your emotions, the reason why you feel so depressed and anxious all the time, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because you're an animal who's getting physiological, psychological, and spiritual symptoms as a result of the way you are living your life right now. This is not good for you. So what's coming first, the depression and the anxiety, or the disconnected way of living? And she agreed. You're absolutely right. I needed to hear that. She started making some changes, and I seen the changes significantly straight away. The days where she got out and she did a walk in nature. She had a camera. She used to take photos. She would tell me about the photographs she'd got. We'd see a more improvement in her eating habits and her mental health. And then if she checked in and she's had a few negative days and she was struggling with food noise and her mental health, I'd simply ask the question. I'd say, well, have you left the house today? Have you stayed committed to your daily walk in nature? Actually, Sam, I didn't go out today. I didn't feel like it. I stayed in bed and I regret it, but it is what it is and I feel so low now. And my job would have to get her right back to it. I have to encourage her and support her and then get her to reframe it as, okay, I see it now. Maybe I needed yesterday to fall off track with my walks, to remind myself just how important they are, because when one thing slips in my environment, it seems to impact everything. So that is void number 5. It's like, are you disconnected from the natural way a human should be living? Are you the human equivalent of the polar bear in the wrong environment? Are you in the wrong environment? Are you not looking after yourself physically, spiritually, and emotionally? We're going to move on to void number 6 now. So void number 6, it's all about status and comparison and comparing your life to how you think you should have it. Dr. John Demartini says this in a great book called The Values Factor. He talks about the void between your reality, how your life actually is, versus how you want your life to be, your expectations or your fantasy. So Dr. John Demartini, who's a world-leading neuroscientist, he's had many celebrity clients, including Donald Trump and I believe Leonardo DiCaprio. And he says, Dr. John Demartini says, the depression and anxiety that many people feel is nothing more than a symptom of living in the void between wish my life looked like this, but here's how it actually is. And he says we create that in the psyche by comparison, by social norms, by social status, by comparing ourselves to other people. A term called keeping up with the Joneses. It's a certain phrase that we have, which I believe was coined from an American TV show. And basically what it means is having to keep up with the neighbours, having to follow what they do. And if the Joneses over the street get a new car, you've got to get a new car. And if the Joneses go on one holiday a year, you've got to go on one holiday a year. And if the Joneses buy a jet ski, you've got to buy a jet ski. And if the Joneses' children are dripping in designer clothes, your children have got to be dripping in designer clothes. Now, social media, materialism, consumerism, these are all things that are rife in 2026. You only have to go on social media for 5 minutes and have a little bit of a scroll. Within 5 minutes, you would have been bombarded with a gazillion adverts about why you're not pretty enough, why you're not happy enough, why you're not rich enough, why you're not confident enough, why you're not skinny enough, and all the other stuff amongst that. So social media and the modern day algorithms and all the consumerism and the buyer psychology and the materialism that we see in the modern world, it's all training the human psyche to constantly compare, to never be happy with where we are, to always want more. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting more. There's nothing wrong with you saying, well, I'm here right now and I want to be here. I want to get there. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to get there. But if that where I think life should be is a constant, never-ending horizon, you consistently move the goalposts. Losing 1 stone's not enough. It's got to be 2 stone. Losing 2 stone's not enough. Got to be 3 stone. I had a client once, and you can probably imagine from my next story, she wasn't a client for very long, unfortunately. Didn't work out. After 1 week of working with me, she checks in. Sam, I'm disappointed. I don't know if this program's working. And I went, why? What's up? Well, I only lost £3 this week. And I was like, come again? Have I just misread your message completely? Can you say that again? But I've only lost £3. And I was like, what's the problem? Well, my friend, she started a diet this week as well. She lost £6. And I'm like, oh my God, this lady is screwed. I cannot help her. I didn't say that. I tried to obviously support her and be like, well, okay, now that I'm explaining it, I think you're being a little bit harsh on yourself here. It's very unrealistic to compare yourself to other people, yada, yada, yada. That relationship didn't last very long because this lady was just ultra obsessed with what everyone else was doing. She just could not settle in her own reality to when she was even winning. She was losing weight and it still wasn't good enough. And unfortunately, it's one of those lost souls that I talk about in the book who I'm just like, I've worked with thousands of people. A few people have fallen through the cracks, right? I'm only one man. I'm an architect. I literally create frameworks, behavior frameworks, blueprints, behaviors to follow. I hold people accountable to those behaviors, support them the best I can, but I can't change their psychology. Their psychology very much comes from them. And this lady I was working with, this was when I was a personal trainer, almost a decade ago now. She lost £3 in a week, but it still wasn't good enough because her friend lost 5 or 6. And that is the mindset that I'm talking about. So void number 6 is about the constant forms of comparisons that I have seen with people who struggle with their relationship with food, that even when they are doing well, they're always beating themselves up about why it's not good enough. Now, this comes from low self-esteem. This possibly comes from trauma. This comes from comparing yourself to other people. It comes from attaching your sense of worthiness to some sort of pedestalized version of yourself. Basically, it means that no matter what you achieve, it'll never be enough. And fuel social media, the algorithms, the constant consumerism, the keeping up with the Joneses attitude, people are screwing themselves mentally to where it's manifesting in their relationships, it's manifesting in their finances, it's manifesting in their emotional state, and it's manifesting in their appearance. So I'm going to read a passage from the book right now. Void number 6, disconnection from status in society. If you spend your day comparing yourself to people on popular social media platforms, comparing fantasies about how you want a life to look, while feeling unsatisfied with where it actually is, you will create depression, and food may become the coping mechanism you turn to. If you check your reflection 10 times a day, wishing your body would change before your eyes, yet it never does, you will create depression, and food may become the coping mechanism. If you base your worth on the number on a scale, and if that number is 1,000,000 miles away from where you want it to be, you will create depression. A quote from Johann Hari, the author of Lost Connection. What if depression is in fact a form of grief for our own lives not being as they should? Now that is powerful. The word depression is closely tied to disconnection, a sense of being cut off not just from others, but from yourself. Reframing feelings of depression, disillusionment, and dissatisfaction with your life as disconnection can get you thinking deeper about your struggles. Johann Hari also says the gap between our expectations and reality is a significant predictor of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and depression. Many of us cling to the beliefs of what we think should have happened in our life, but didn't. What we wished to happen, but didn't. What we dreamt our life would become, but didn't. With that, when our expectations, goals, dreams, fantasies, and desires do not work out as we thought they should, it creates a sense of grief, loss, and disconnection, otherwise known as depression. Food can be a way for many people to numb themselves to the reality of spending their lives living in the void between their expectations of how they wanted their life to be and their actual reality of how their life worked out. So constant forms of I wish my life was like this, constant forms of my life should be like that, constant forms of I'm not good enough because I should have this and I should have that and I should be better at this. Constant forms of comparison create a disconnection with the relationship with yourself. We talked about the relationship disconnection to other people in void number 2. Here, we're talking about the relationship with yourself. And the relationship with yourself is just as important as the relationship with everyone else. A lot of food noise is often just a symptom of low self-worth, feelings of disillusionment, feelings of dissatisfaction. And because it's painful to sit in the void between how you want your life to be or how you think it should be versus where it actually is, spending your time constantly comparing, ruminating on what's missing, that is a fast track to depression and anxiety, and food noise can raise its head to take the edge off that. Moving on, void number 7, the final void, disconnection from meaning, purpose, and your future. So there's another great book that I recommend. It's by a gentleman called Viktor Frankl. Now, Viktor Frankl was a psychologist during World War II. He was a Jewish psychologist, and he actually found himself, unfortunately, in one of the concentration camps in Europe in the 90s. And his book, Man's Search for Meaning, was a book that he wrote after he was liberated and he survived the atrocities of the concentration camp. And he talked about, from a psychologist's point of view, what he witnessed, where he's observed something deep about human nature. He called it logotherapy, related to the word logos. So logotherapy is all about having a deep sense of meaning to your life. And Viktor Frankl said, when a man knows his why, he can overcome any how. And what he meant was he witnessed people in the concentration camps who psychologically reframed what they were going through as something that they had to get through because they had something on the outside world waiting for them. They made it have meaning. They had a sense of purpose, or maybe they created purpose within the camp. And Viktor Frankl talked about in his book, the people who had a sense of why and a deep sense of meaning in their life, they were able to overcome the tyranny and the atrocities, and they were able to survive. But the people who psychologically lost a sense or lost their grip to what it was all about, they had no meaning. He watched them wither away and psychologically and spiritually die. And the people who unfortunately passed away in the concentration camps, a lot of them passed away due to malnutrition, mental health issues, physical health issues, or just losing the will to live. And Viktor Frankl talks about that. And when he come out, his entire ethos of his psychological frameworks, logotherapy, was about helping people find their deeper why. Because when people have a connection to their deeper why, they can almost overcome any how. And I see that mirrored back in the clients who I've worked with their relationship with food. I might ask them a question at the start of a consultation and say something like, tell me, what is your mission in the next 3 to 5 years? What are you working towards? What are you so excited about? What's your sense of purpose and direction for the next 3 to 5 years? A lot of people, 90% of people, can't answer that question. They're like, Sam, I'm just trying to make it to the weekend. Sam, I'm just trying to make it through the day without binge eating. Sam, I'm just trying to make it through the hour without having a panic attack. They've totally become disconnected to what the future is about. Another thing Viktor Frankl said, if we don't have hope, we can't cope. Humans need hope to cope. And when we don't have a sense of hope, we can't cope with our emotions. Our emotions are very complex. Our emotions are very strong. Our emotions are very painful, certain emotions anyway. And when we don't know how to safely, psychologically express those emotions, we don't know how to cope. Humans need a sense of direction to the future. They need something to look forward to. They need to have hope for a better future. A lot of people are living week to week, day to day. I'm asking them, like, what are you most excited about this week? Nothing. What are you working towards this month? Nothing. What's on your bucket list this year that you're going to get the chance to do? Nothing. And I'm like, can you not see now why you're struggling so much with meaning, with purpose, with food noise? Because food is taking the place for that sense of disconnection that you don't have to a meaningful purpose, to a meaningful future. If you listen to this video right now, want to overcome food noise, you want to beat binge eating, you want to improve your mental health, you want to kick anxiety and depression in the you know what, and you want to overcome this, you've got to start creating a meaningful future for yourself. A powerful question that I ask my clients: what would a life look like for you that you didn't need to escape from anymore? The gap between your reality, currently struggling with your body weight, with your eating habits, with your mental health, with food noise, and where you want your life to be, not struggling with your body, not struggling with your mental health, not struggling with food noise. The path to that is your path to purpose. If you can't find a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, and a sense of meaning, you'll find it very, very hard. Void number 7 is about sitting and taking an honest inventory of your life. What am I working towards in the next 3 to 5 years? Do I have a plan? Do I have a sense of purpose? What is my why? What is the reason why I'm going to overcome my challenges? What is the reason I get up every day for? If you have lost a sense of why, you have lost your sense of how. So the deeper meaning behind my book, Why You Overeat and How to Stop for Good, why you overeat is because you're experiencing 7 voids. You are experiencing disconnection from your daily job. You are experiencing disconnection from your personal relationships. You are experiencing disconnection from meaningful hobbies and a sense of fun and creativity. You are experiencing disconnection from your identity due to your past traumas. You are experiencing disconnection to nature and the natural order of how a human's supposed to live. You are experiencing disconnection to your self-identity due to constant comparison, low self-worth, and the modern algorithm of social media and materialism, consumerism, convincing you that you are not good enough as you are and constantly wanting you to desire more, which leads to depression and anxiety. And you are experiencing disconnection from a future that you actually want, from a life that you don't need to escape from anymore, from meaning, passion, and purpose itself. How to stop overeating for good? The how is the deeper meaning behind it all. I have laid this out for you right now. All of the things that I've said inside my book, Why You Overeat and How to Stop, and in this video, part 1 and 2 of the 7 Void Framework, none of what I said is easy. What I have said, I'm going to be honest with you, very hard to hear. Right now, you might have listened to this video or the past videos and went, Sam, you've just laid out every single void and I am experiencing every single one of them. How the hell do I get started? I feel more overwhelmed than ever. I hear you. 10 years ago, when I was struggling with my disordered relationship with food, go back to the first video of the Why You Overeat podcast where I break down my origin story. I'll link it in the comments below. Episode 1, I was experiencing every single one of those voids. Had some stuff from the past that I didn't deal with. Didn't think it impacted me, but it did. It's connection due to past traumas. I had some relationship problems in my life. Relationship with my parents at the time, I was quite isolated from them, wasn't getting on with them, felt very distant, wasn't getting on with my partner at the time. We had personal issues that I wasn't dealing with. That was very much on me. The shame, the secrets, the anxiety, the lies, all of the disconnections in my relationships at the time that were going on. I left university. I had dreams of becoming a personal trainer or maybe starting my own business or finding a job and helping people. I sat around for 18 months, kicking my heels, waiting for an opportunity to come. I was unemployed, living in my overdraft. I had 0 clients at the time. I was in debt, living on a credit card. I wasn't getting outside enough. I was literally staying in the house all day. I was binge watching Netflix. I was going to the gym at 8 o'clock at night. I was coming home and I was struggling to sleep because I hadn't done anything all day. I felt like I was wasting my life. I wasn't living naturally. My sleep cycle was off. I was struggling with my mental health. I was comparing myself to fitness models, bodybuilders. I was going, you've got a 6-pack, Sam, but you don't have an 8-pack. So that means you're not good enough. Okay, you look quite good. You're in good shape. But that guy who's also going, he's way bigger than you. You're still not good enough. So it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter what I achieved. It didn't matter what physically I looked like. It was never enough. And I know so many people listening to this video have had similar issues with their relationship with their body, with the scale weight, with comparing themselves to other people. And I was also feeling disconnected from hope itself at that time. All 7 voids I was experiencing at one point in my life. If I can overcome my mental health issues, anxiety, depression, some stuff from the past that I never dealt with, if I can start filling those voids by systematically working through the 7 void framework, picking the easiest one to get started with. I didn't start with all 7. I picked the easiest one. And then I started making progress on the others. And now I'm teaching other people how to overcome this themselves. And I've been doing it every year since 2020. From the years of 2018 to 2020, I worked systematically through all of those 7 voids in my life. And I dealt with them. And anytime I'm struggling with my mental health right now, which sometimes happens, I stop and I observe and I go, which one of the 7 voids am I experiencing? And I go, actually, no wonder you've been feeling a little bit depressed lately, Sam. You haven't done any hobbies for yourself. You've been working for 3 weeks. You haven't took a day off. Right, you need to do some self-care. Or maybe I start struggling a little bit. I start feeling frustrated or angry and I go, well, actually, I haven't even spent any quality time with my partner in like weeks. I've just been like seeing her on a night time, saying hello and watching Netflix with her, and that's about it. Not seeing her all day. I haven't even spent any quality time together. There's no wonder I feel disconnected from my intimate relationships. There's a point in 2025 which actually the 7 void framework, coincidentally enough, inspired me to write the book because I started feeling a bit disconnected. I just had the best year I ever had in business in my life. The most amount of clients, I put on the most amount of events, I got the most amount of transformations. I hit an absolute career high point at the end of 2024. And in 2025, I woke up flat. I woke up flat as a fart. And I was like, I've just had the best year and I feel empty. What's going on? And I realized it was because I spent so much time working with clients in 2024, getting amazing results, that I hadn't really channeled anything new, anything creative. I hadn't produced anything. I hadn't produced a new course, a new audiobook, a podcast, any video series in about 2 or 3 years. I just got so bogged down by client work, which is obviously what allowed me to help people get all these results and why I'm in the position I'm in now. But I realized I needed to be creative. So I started getting a bit disconnected from work. I started snoozing my alarm. I started thinking of the day, thinking, God, all I'm doing today is just normal work. I mean, I'm not excited anymore. How can I be doing so well? And all of a sudden I just feel so flat. And then March of 2025, I realized I need to write this book. By October 2025, it was out. So it was actually me going through the 7 voids in my own life only last year where I was like, I'm starting to notice I'm struggling and I see multiple things. I need to do more self-care. I need to put myself first. I've been working a little bit too hard. I haven't created anything. I feel a little bit disconnected from the future. I don't know what I'm working towards. I needed an exciting new project. Once I got aligned to those things again, things started clicking. I noticed I only struggle with my emotions, my mental health, my emotional state when those 7 voids are present. And I promise you, it will be exactly the same for you. So I want you to be very honest with yourself right now. Which one of the 7 voids have completely jumped out at you right now where you're like, oh my God, Sam, that is me. Maybe there's more than one. I promise you, you are not alone. And I promise you there is a way out. The full entire framework and systematic step-by-step process of how to overcome these voids is in my book, Why You Overeat and How to Stop for Good. Check the description below. Go grab a copy of the book if you want. Start working on those processes. I'm going to love you and leave you. It's been an incredible last couple of weeks. I'm so excited for so many projects I've got coming up. You guys on this channel are going to love it. In the meantime, have a look in the description below. Take the food noise quiz to determine your dominant patterns of overeating, which will help you get clear of how food noise shows up for you. And if you did want to grab a copy of the book, you know where it's at. I will see you in the next video. Adios, amigos.